I think it's time to have a bit of a temperature check surrounding Hollyoaks, because I've not necessarily been covering it as heavily as I would usually, but it's still also a good time to see how us as an audience are generally feeling about the show. And, perhaps today is the day I mowed the grass, so maybe I'm a little bit more dejected, a little bit more tired. But I won't lie, I'm not entirely feeling Hollyoaks at the moment. And why is that? It's hard to quantify what it is, but also it feels like everything is moving at a very slow pace. And this is a problem with Hollyoaks, where people obviously love Hollyoaks because it is a fast-paced, action-packed, consistently moving type of show. Things go from A to B to C probably about 3 times as fast as you would expect it in another soap, for example. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, because Hollyoaks is obviously working with one less hour of shows, which means that you can't go ahead and throw everything at the wall every single week. But to me, it kind of feels like we are just, kind of trundling along with not really that much of a big vision as to what we're doing. Like, we are heating things up, right? We're continuing the stuff with D.I. Banks, who is running this teenage exploitation ring. Vicky is gone. For now, she did return in today's episodes, but she is, all things considered, she has vanished again, taken to a secure place and held captive. Robbie's still away on our screens. Dylan and Frankie finally have made the choice to flee and try and get clean. Lucas now has a brain tumor, which is, the potential. Obviously, the ramifications of this, I highly doubt that Lucas died, because it would be a pretty short-sighted way to kill off what could possibly be a very long-term character if the actor wants to stick around. Like, he started off really kind of middling, but then through time and through developing the character, he has actually become one of the most prominent Hollyoaks characters in the last couple of years, and it's done a good way to make people invest in the character, especially with his relationship with Dylan. They've done a really good way of building up him, and now he's obviously getting to show who he wants to be. It's like when he came in, he had Steve's same haircut. And he does look a lot like Steve. And you can really tell that the casting was on point. But he's also a very talented actor, right? And you do tend to risk overexposing these characters. Kind of, it's a thing with like Frankie, right? Where you want to keep giving Frankie really good, important stuff, because Isabel Smith is fantastic. And people are probably sick of hearing that at this point, but she is the future. But also, it's that thing where you don't want to run the character into the ground. It's like Cleo. Cleo now has finally bounced back, but she spent a lot of time in limbo and spent a lot of time just being like, she spent a lot of time being very chronically unhappy, which you don't want to invest in. It's like with people, right? You have to really believe in something to want it to be tragic. And if it is tragic at some point, us as people, we just get sick of it. Just like, oh, all right, so you just don't want to try now. Like, at some point, you do get frustrated. And that's an issue with soap characters as well. You don't want to make them too tragic, because at some point, you just stop caring. It's like the Ben Mitchell effect in EastEnders, where Ben Mitchell had a really big storyline and was on our screens pretty much all year round, every week, and always typically had a big story. And instead of actually making him a happier character, which is what they wanted and what we Instead of what we as an audience wanted, you just kept piling trauma on trauma and trauma, which proceeded to lower the investment that a lot of people had, because you just went, I'm just sick of seeing this Ben Mitchell be sad all the time. You want to see the character progress. You don't want to see the character regress and stuff. So it's a fun one in some way, but it's also a difficult one. Not like I'm saying they're doing that with Isabel Smith. Like, Frankie's storyline's still been really good. It'll be interesting to see what she does beyond it. And I think that's going to be I want her to find love. I want her to find a relationship that is genuine and pure and healthy and consensual. I want her to find love. And I want to tackle how would Frankie deal with this? How would she handle being with someone after all of the trauma that's surrounding her previous her previous situation with JJ? It feels like it's a really interesting story to explore. And yeah, sure, it'll be a hard one to watch as well, because there will be certain boundaries that Frankie probably doesn't really have or understand, the way she interprets people and interest in her. What are her expectations? Does she confuse being friendly for anything more? Like, it will be a criminal shame if we don't explore that side of Frankie, because that is a really interesting, would be a really interesting character point. And obviously, yeah, sure, you can have a bit of trauma, you can have a bit of tragedy in its own way, but still, you can genuinely have this build to a nice love story where she gets to be herself and she gets to be with Frankie and Darren and Nancy, and generally you get to believe, you get to enjoy and see her develop from who she initially started as to the woman she's become. And I do think that we do need a bit of not a reset as such, but we do need to, I don't know, this. I tipped the exploitation storyline as one of the best, and I said this could be one of the best ever, which, I was just trying to replicate the success of the Frankie and JJ stuff, but it's not been that good so far. It's been interesting. I kind of like how it's heated up, but also it is petering on. And look, I don't know, it just needs a bit more adrenaline. It just needs a bit more momentum. It needs a shot on the arm to give it that big boost. And we are slowly getting there, but it's just kind of it's been more of a slow burn than I expected, but it's also progressed faster than I thought. So it's not really doing either particularly well, but it is still pitting very talented actors and very talented actresses, very talented work, very talented people in this. And they've done quite a good job at making Banks the big bad, and then you have Donnie chasing his tail. Nice to see him actually be fleshed out as a character. I assume Dodger's role in this will also come up fairly soon again. And it is interesting, but also it's not hitting as much as I thought it was going. So, time will tell, but we are heating up quite dramatically. I also think we are slowly pushing forward. We had the basically, I want Cleo and Sienna to get together, but it's the soap classic of you need hurdles to make it that two people want to be together. Because ultimately, I say this big thing about how I don't want all these relationships to be so tired and they keep splitting up for no reason, but you have to make people want it. And how do you get people to want it? You tease it, you tease it, you tease it, and then finally you bring it together as it all comes to a big, lovely, high as it continues. And then obviously once they get together and it's established and everybody's still invested, but then it just kind of becomes the stans who will absolutely adore it to the end of time. And it is getting there. I want them to get together. I think there's been a lot of floundering, unfortunately. But also, yeah, I think also we have kind of separated. I think we have separated a lot of. You do have the Hollyoaks like stars, the ones who are driving forward the story and this new generation. And it is a good blend of old and new characters. Like it's making good use of like Steve, Darren and Nancy, Tony, and Diane as well. Like we have been seeing this really. Oh, excuse me. Like they had to rebuild and they had to make these families pretty key, and they've done a good job of doing that. And it is a good blend, but like I said, we kind of need to. I think we need to make it more centralized. I think we need to, and I know it's like a word salad type word. What does that even mean? Is that I think we need it to be more grounded in the village. It'd be a bit more grounded, a bit less crime. I will be very happy when this DI bank stuff is over, and I do want to see more wholesome stories. I do want to see more interesting angles. I don't really want to see this darker tone can persist, but with the news of Claire Divine and just generally how they are. I don't know. It's just, and like Lucas having a brain tumor, another tumor. We're kind of rattling around. And like even with new introduction, Hollyoaks has obviously kept a lot of the same cast because they had to, and this was who they were going to bring the next generation of and with and in like through. So obviously you're not introducing tons of newer characters. So but you do have Tommy, who I do love. I do love Tommy. He's so weird, but I can't help but love him because, like I said, he's a little weirdo who eats food. What's not to love? We just need a bit more of the same, really. We need more Dodger and Sienna. We just need more of it. It's doing a good job at building up to these things, but we need more Cleo and Sienna. We need more Joel and Leela. We need more Tommy and his food. We need more Steve and Rex in its own way. It'll still be interesting to see how they still aim to distance Rex from Grace. Like, I've still kind of said this, but I still wouldn't be surprised if, in a callback to Liam Donovan's death, and I know I've been really vocal about this one, I wouldn't be surprised if Grace Black in this version is killed off. Because it's going to be really hard to isolate this aspect of a character and take someone who is willingly participating in horrific things. It's going to be exceptionally difficult to actually have Grace return to any sense of normality. How does Grace, who has been facilitating the teens of or the young adults of Hollyoaks to be exploited, how is she just going to get in a relationship with... Well, I don't know who Grace would be in a relationship with at this point. It's just, it's an impossible... It's a very hard circumstance to do. It's also this thing where you don't want to paint yourself into a corner. But the one thing that you also is starting to struggle with is, to me, and this is speculation, so nobody takes this as gospel. It's like how in one of the videos I suggested maybe BBC buys Hollyoaks, and it was like a little rumor that was going on. But that wasn't confirmed, and it was a rumor. It was speculation. I'm worried that Hollyoaks isn't trying to future-proof itself anymore. And it feels like excuse me, sorry. You start to wonder how much Hannah Cheers is thinking to the future. And admittedly, she probably did have a lot of plans for the year that got skipped. But also, you know, like, it'd be quite hard to genuinely believe that Channel 4 are going to keep backing you, because they do keep kind of gutting Hollyoaks, but you do start to worry about future proofing. And like, even by doing this, like, you brought back Jeremy Blake as his own. You brought back Patrick Sheffield, I don't remember. You brought back Patrick Blake in a different form to play his twin brother Jez, which I still acknowledge is a cool thing to have, and it's good, but also you did kill off Patrick. And I'm glad that it's not just a rerun, but it's also besmirched in its own way, because he is worse because he's a murderer. Like, I don't know. It's so bizarre. And now you're bringing back Claire Devine, who was run down. I get that you want to be able to play with these toys, but also if they are dead, you can't just stop. You know, look, I'm sure all the EastEnders executive producers, except the ones who act them, would absolutely love to bring back Abby. I mean, maybe, but would love to bring back Ronnie and Ross. But ultimately, the legwork you would have to do to get to that point, and also risking the potential negative backlash of retrieving these two characters from being dead, it's something that Hollyoaks at this point is starting to really indulge in and really like. And like I said, you can't just go back and say this didn't happen. And even if you give it an explanation, it's not entirely who really like, all you do is alienate a core bit of your audience. You just go, well, I'm glad that I didn't, like, you know, I'm glad I loved that storyline back in the 2000s, because now it's not real. And like, will it be a proper return for Claire Devine? Will she come back to be killed off again? Will she actually be sticking around on the show for the foreseeable? Like, it's big shoes to fill. And it also feels like Hollyoaks is generally looking for a way to still cut more of the cast if they can manage it, like with Jez being a killer, and with Claire Devine coming back, she's probably going to set a sight on a couple people, especially the McQueens. Is Myra at risk as such? You know, will we finally, for the 30th anniversary, are we going to? I mean, one thing I still think it would be important to see for the 30th anniversary. Are we going to see the funeral of Nana McQueen, who I'm pretty sure is still alive in the show, but obviously Diane Langton, you know, passed away. Are you bringing back more of the McQueens for that funeral? Like, there's a lot of potential. It just right now, it feels a bit slow. But it's not like it's been bad. I still think it's been good, been pretty enjoyable. I don't think it's been like Moorish, Moorish in a way where you eat a Pringle, you go, oh, that's so good, let's have another. And then within about 20 minutes, you've suddenly eaten the whole pack to yourself and you feel fat. Which never happened to me, of course. Never happened to me. But like, it is good, and I still think it is better than Coronation Street is right now. That's a given. But fundamentally, you do risk falling into the trap where you don't want to alienate your core audience, because if they get fed up, suddenly your viewership goes down. So you need to put out a quality show, or just have the quality people there that people will live for. But yeah, that's a weird little temperature check on Hollyoaks. I do think it's been good. It's not been great right now. It's not been particularly great for a while. But, you know, if we do get a couple more revelations, a couple more explosive things coming up soon, I'm sure it'll be back to being pretty good. But yeah, what do you think about Hollyoaks right now? Tell me in the comment section down below. I've been Ash from Watching Walford. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.